She always told me I was paranoid, which, in her defense, was mostly true. I like my routines. I like clean logs, locked doors, synced devices, and yes, knowing where my damn car is at all times. That's not paranoia. That's efficiency. But when Alexa started playing SOD at 2:07 a.m., I figured either my house had become self-aware or someone was using it like a hotel with mood lighting. Alexa, play romantic playlist. Those were the exact words. I heard it from the baby monitor feed. Yeah, we don't have kids, but I still use the camera in the guest room to keep tabs on things. You never know when a circuit's gonna blow or a leak's gonna start. It's a monitoring thing, not a trust thing. Anyway, that night, I was in bed alone again. She said she had an early meeting the next day and needed to sleep in the guest room. Sounded reasonable, until Sod started serenading the drywall between us. And then Alexa followed up with setting lights to 20%. Mood activated. I laid there, wide awake, listening to every quiet rustle through the wall. Not the kind that comes from shifting pillows. The kind that sounds like clothes being removed carefully. The kind that ends with a low thump and then stillness. I didn't confront her. Of course not. Amateurs confront. I opened the app. Smart Home Pro logs every voice command, every light switch, every thermostat adjustment. It even logs who gave the command based on vocal profile. So when I pulled up the activity history and saw Alexa, play romantic playlist listed under her voice signature, that wasn't paranoia. That was confirmation. Still, it could have been her. Alone. Depressed. Maybe she wanted to feel something. Maybe she was listening to Sod while reading emails and drinking wine in the guest room because our marriage was just coasting along on silent fumes. Right? Right? Wrong. Next day, I started pulling logs. That's when I noticed a pattern. Every Thursday night for the last 7 weeks, between 1:30 and 2:30 a.m., a series of commands had gone through, always her voice. Play music, dim lights, adjust thermostat to 72, enable do not disturb. Thursday night, every week. That's not romance. That's routine. So I took it further. Our Tesla syncs to both of our phones, but I'm the primary account, which means I can access the vehicle's full GPS history, door open/close timestamps, cabin temperature shifts, even seat adjustments. Guess what I found? Thursday nights. The Tesla wasn't home. It was moving. Short 15-minute trips to the same address. An address I didn't recognize at first. But a quick Zillow search revealed it was a modern split-level home registered to one Michael Garson. Her coworker. The guy she couldn't stand. The guy who always interrupted her during Zoom meetings. The guy she once called completely not my type after I made an offhand joke about them always carpooling to offsites. She was seeing him. Not just occasionally. Religiously. Scheduled and calculated like a dentist with a calendar app fetish. Still, I didn't blow up. Not my style. I documented. Pulled every log, mapped every trip, screen captured the vocal signatures, even pulled timestamped video from our Ring cameras. Yes, she always parked in the garage. But the Tesla recorded the garage door opening, the cabin cooling to 70 degrees, and the passenger seat being adjusted forward each time. Why adjust the passenger seat if it's just you? Because it wasn't just her. Next, I checked the bedroom cameras. Just static footage of me asleep. Meanwhile, in the guest room, we had a clear view of the empty bed until about 2:05 a.m. each week, when she would sneak in from the garage door, hair damp, cheeks flushed, eyes glassy. She thought she was slick. She had no idea our entire house was a witness. That's when I started plotting. Because what do you do when someone thinks they're outsmarting the house you designed? You let the house do the talking. And Alexa? She doesn't stutter. By week 8, I had enough data to make a Netflix docuseries. The house didn't just give me timestamps, it gave me a digital diary. And I read every page like a detective who wasn't even pretending to be objective anymore. Alexa had become my co-investigator, and Tesla? Tesla was my tail car. Nothing hides from a battery-powered snitch with 4 cameras and a passive-aggressive update schedule. Thursday rolls around again. I don't ask questions. I don't comment. I don't so much as flinch when she says she's exhausted and needs to crash early. Her voice still carries that casual tone, like she's got an innocent bedtime routine of herbal tea and a podcast. But now, every syllable sounds like a dog whistle for betrayal. She kisses my forehead on the way to the guest room. Soft. Like she's trying to preserve something. I wait 30 minutes. I hear the garage door roll open. Tesla app confirms. 2:04 a.m. Vehicle in motion. Destination. 1.2 miles away. Estimated arrival, 2:11 a.m. Same address. Same routine. This isn't even an affair anymore. It's a subscription. I sip my coffee the next morning while reviewing logs like I'm skimming yesterday's news. Music, activated. Lights, 20%. Thermostat, 72. D&D, enabled. All from her voice. All within the same 4-minute window. The only thing missing is a loyalty card punch for every visit. So now I move into phase 2. I create a new Alexa routine. I call it Evening Charm. Evening Charm is innocent on the surface. When triggered by her voice, it will dim the lights, play soft jazz, and start a wine fridge chill cycle. But buried deep in the subroutine are a few extras I code in via the developer console. First, Alexa begins recording. Yes, that's possible. No, it's not technically supported by Amazon. But when you route a skill through a dummy home automation API and capture audio packets through a smart speaker spoof to your own server, it's amazing what you can pick up. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of moaning and phrases like, "I hate how good this feels," and "He never makes me feel this way." Second, I have Alexa store all recordings into a hidden drive on our home NAS, disguised as security cam logs. Third, I set a trigger phrase, "Good night, Alexa," that, when spoken, prompts a dump of the last 24 hours of audio into a shared Google Drive folder. One she doesn't know exists. I let that run for 2 more Thursdays. By the end of the second week, I've got over 80 minutes of recorded audio. All from the guest room. All from my wife. And her special guest. You'd think it'd be painful to listen to. That hearing your spouse breathlessly whisper sweet nothings to someone else would wreck you. It didn't. What got me wasn't what she said. It was how boring it all was. Same lines. Same rhythm. Same fake giggle she used in our wedding video. At one point she literally said, "This feels so real," and I nearly choked on my iced coffee. Real? In my house? With my lights? With Alexa coaching the mood like a digital third wheel? She was living out her fantasy in the same place I paid the mortgage on. So yeah, it wasn't heartbreak I felt. It was creative inspiration. Because at this point, I wasn't just building a revenge plan. I was producing it. The final routine I created was called Girls' Night. Because that's how she labeled it on the calendar, wine night with the girls clinking glasses nail polish dot. Scheduled 3 weeks out. 7 p.m. Friday. Perfect. This was going to be the showcase. The premiere. The season finale. I pre-programmed the house for the evening. Lights dimming at 8:10 p.m. Background music set to our wedding playlist, ironically nostalgic. Alexa set to announce key lines pulled from her previous recordings. Yes, you read that right. I turned her affair into a screenplay. I sliced her own voice into a dramatic monologue and had Alexa set to recite it like it was poetry. It started with, "Michael, don't stop. This is the only place I feel seen." Followed by, "He's so oblivious, it's like I'm already single." In the piece de resistance, "We'll figure it out. I just need to keep the lie going a little longer." Chilling stuff when said out loud in a robotic female voice while sipping Chardonnay. But I wasn't done. I needed an audience. So I messaged someone. Her name was Emily Garson. Michael's wife. Yes. He was married too. I found her through a tagged birthday post on his Instagram. Sent her a short, polite message. "I think you deserve to see what happens at my house on Thursday nights. If you're free Friday, 7 p.m., I'll send you a link. No threats. No drama." She replied 2 hours later with 3 words. "Send the link." I did. It was a direct stream link to our kitchen smart display, which I'd configured to screen mirror everything happening in the guest room, synced with the house routine. All Emily had to do was watch. At 7 p.m. sharp, I stepped out. Told my wife I had a late-night tech consult with a client in Palo Alto. She barely looked up from her phone. "You'll miss the girls," she said with a smirk. "No worries," I said. "I'll catch the highlights." By 6:45 p.m., the wine bottles were breathing on the counter and Claire was doing that fake casual hostess thing she always did when she needed to convince herself she wasn't living a lie. Soft jazz on low. Diffuser misting lavender like it wasn't working overtime to mask tension. Hair perfect. Outfit carefully styled to look effortless. Not for the girls, God no. For him. In case he showed up later. In case Girls' Night had a guest appearance scheduled after the second bottle. I left through the garage, pulled the Tesla out 2 blocks down, and looped back on foot. Had to make sure the house was still within signal range for the display mirroring. Spoiler, it was. Our system had a 30-meter tether radius, strong enough to keep the smart displays active but weak enough that the stream wouldn't go global. Just one device. One witness. Emily Garson. I imagined her sitting there in her own perfect suburban home, laptop open, wine glass in hand, ready to see her husband perform. Maybe she'd poured herself a glass of courage. Maybe she was still holding out hope that I was bluffing. Maybe she thought this was some kind of twisted prank. She was in for a feature presentation. 7 p.m. The house paint. Routine. Girls' night. Initiated. Guest room lights. 100%, 35%. Living room. 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Dining area. Ambient music. Velvet jazz. Alexa, welcome to girls' night. Let's have a night to remember. That line took me a while to write. Not too cheesy, not too sinister. Just enough to pass as a cute automation until you realized what the night was actually about. By 7:12, Claire's friends arrived. 3 of them, all equally curated, fitness instructor, tech PR, and one vaguely spiritual momfluencer with a tarot deck and a Gucci tote. I knew their names, knew their husbands. We'd done the double date dance. All of them had smiled at me like I was the luckiest guy alive while their eyes flicked toward Claire like she was a movie star playing stable wife for awards season. The wine started flowing by 7:30. I watched from my laptop via the driveway cam. I couldn't hear them, but I didn't need to. I knew the rhythm. Laugh. Sip. Compliment. Gossip. More wine. They weren't the targets. They were the audience. At 8:10, the lights dimmed. Exactly as programmed. Claire didn't notice. She thought it was the scene setting she'd selected. She probably felt proud. Look how perfect her night was going. Until Alexa cleared her throat. Not literally, of course. But that's what it felt like. Would you like me to read your last conversation? Alexa asked aloud. Claire froze. Her friends laughed. One of them, I think it was Samantha, the PR rep, joked, "Ooh, what she got to hide?" Claire reached for her phone, probably assuming it was a glitch. Too late. Alexa continued. Michael, don't stop. This is the only place I feel seen. The silence was instant. Not even a breath. Samantha blinked. Maya, the yoga mom, looked confused. Claire's wine glass tilted, paused halfway to her lips. Alexa went on. He's so oblivious. It's like I'm already single. Claire stood. Alexa, stop. But Alexa didn't stop. I disabled the default command functions and routed the script through a third-party skill pretending to be a music playlist. She could scream until her vocal cords snapped. Alexa would keep going. Her friends didn't move. They just stared. This wasn't a glitch. This was a eulogy. Alexa delivered the final line in that calm, almost smiling tone only robots can perfect. We'll figure it out. I just need to keep the lie going a little longer. Claire looked toward the kitchen display, the big one we used for recipes, shopping lists, and the occasional YouTube tutorial. That's where the video stream was playing. Guest room camera. Timestamped footage. Her. With him. Not explicit. I didn't go there. But enough. Enough to show her lips on his shoulder. Enough to show them laughing. Enough to show her removing her top. Just enough to kill plausible deniability and leave imagination to do the rest. Samantha stood up. Maya covered her mouth. Claire whispered, no. That's when Alexa chimed one last time. Viewer 1 has left the stream. That was for Claire. That was the twist. Emily Garson had been watching. And now? She wasn't. Claire bolted to the kitchen, yanked the plug on the smart display like it would somehow stop the damage from spreading, like the fire was contained to the outlet. Her friends were already gathering their bags. Samantha asked, how long's it been going on? Claire didn't answer. Not that it mattered. They weren't asking out of curiosity. They were asking because they knew they'd never see her the same way again. At 8:32, my phone buzzed. One new message from an unknown number. It read, you're a cruel man. But you're right. I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it. Because I wasn't looking for validation. I was just checking boxes. By 9 p.m., the house was quiet again. I waited an extra hour before returning, gave her time to sit in the wreckage, to listen to the walls echo the things she thought only she and Michael had said. When I finally walked in, the lights were back to normal. So was Claire. At least on the surface. She sat at the dining table, alone, arms folded, face unreadable. You did this, she said. I shrugged. The house did it, I said. I just built it. She didn't yell. That's the part that got me. Not the betrayal, not hers, not mine. Not the silence from her friends after they left like ghosts in expensive heels. It was the stillness of Claire at that table, like she was waiting for a director to call cut, and the whole thing would reset. But this wasn't a scene, and I wasn't playing anymore. She sat there in the soft light of the dining room, the same room where we'd celebrated anniversaries, birthdays, the night she surprised me with my favorite bourbon after I landed a big client. It felt small now, like a theater stage after the audience has gone home, props still in place, makeup cracking under the heat of old lights. "You humiliated me," she said. I poured myself a drink. No ceremony. Just ice, pour, silence. "You did that part," I replied, sipping. "You didn't have to involve them." "You involved them every Thursday," I said. "I just invited them to the encore." She didn't look at me. Didn't cry. Claire wasn't the cry in front of you type. She cried for the mirror. For sympathy, not consequence. But her face was locked. Still. Like she was calculating how bad the fallout was going to be. I already knew. Maya posted a vague Instagram story an hour after she left. Black screen. One word, wow. Samantha didn't post anything, which said more. Silence on social media is like a scream in a courtroom. It means something went very wrong. And Michael? Well, let's just say Emily had her own flair for drama. She didn't just leave him. She deleted him. Every post. Every tag. Every trace of their vacation in Tulum, their anniversary in Lake Tahoe, their couple's cooking classes. All gone by midnight. Replaced by one single pin story. Accountability looks different when there's proof. Attached was a still image from our guest room cam. Timestamp included. Claire knew what that meant. She poured herself a drink too, but her hand shook slightly. She noticed. "Put it down." "Do you feel better?" she asked. Wrong question. "I feel finished," I said. She flinched, just a little. Like the word hit her deeper than she expected. "I was going to tell you," she said. When? When it was the right time. I let that hang in the air like a bad smell. "There's no right time to explain 8 weeks of betrayal," I said. "Only 2 options. Before you do it, or after you get caught." She looked away again. I noticed her phone buzz on the counter. Once. Twice. A pause. Then a third time. Probably Michael. Maybe Emily. Maybe someone forwarding a screen recording of Alexa's greatest hits. She didn't check it. She knew better. "I didn't plan it," she said, voice smaller now. "It just started. You were so busy. I felt like I didn't exist anymore." There it was. The script. Busy husband. Lonely wife. Emotional void. Classic. Except I wasn't buying tickets to that matinee. "You existed enough to plan a routine," I said. "To sneak around a house built on logs and cameras and think I wouldn't notice. You existed plenty." She was quiet again. I finished my drink. "Do you love him?" I asked. She didn't answer. Which, of course, was the answer. And in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't mad. I wasn't broken. I wasn't even disappointed. I was done. Emotionally, this wasn't a gut punch. It was a system shutdown. The kind where the screen goes black and the fan slows and everything goes quiet except the hum of power disconnecting. "I'm moving out," I said, standing. She blinked. "Wait. What?" "You'll stay here. At least for now. I'll take the guest room tonight. But I've already scheduled a furnished lease uptown starting Monday." She stood too, voice rising for the first time. "You're just leaving?" I nodded. "There's nothing left to fix. You made that clear. I'm not going to sit here and live inside your guilt while you figure out if you miss me. But what about the house? The cars? Our finances?" "All separate," I said. "You know that. Always were." She swallowed hard. "The advantage of being the paranoid husband? You're prepared for disaster even when you hope you'll never need to be. Prenup? Ironclad. Primary on the mortgage? Me. Tesla's in my name. So's the smart system license. Everything else? Already cloned to a personal account I set up 3 weeks ago, the first night Sod played through the guest room wall. I'll send over the transfer papers for anything you want to keep," I said. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Not because she accepted it, because she didn't have a move left. This wasn't a fight. This was a resignation. And I just delivered the terms. I walked past her, heading to the guest room. She didn't follow. She didn't say goodnight. I sat on the bed, looked around at the now infamous space, the room where the truth hid in plain sight, where the playlist knew more about my marriage than I did. I picked up the remote, turned on the lights. 35%. Dim, warm. Exactly as she liked it. I didn't sleep. Didn't need to. By morning, the whole neighborhood knew. Not because I told them. Because gossip travels faster when it's believable. And Claire? She was the headline. The next morning, she tried to play it normal. Woke up early, made coffee, did her makeup, swiped through her phone like the night before hadn't happened, like maybe the right filter would fix everything. She even put on one of those gym chic outfits she usually reserved for running into Michael at Whole Foods. Subtle cleavage, strategically accidental hair bun. The uniform of someone who wants to appear unbothered, while bleeding out inside. I watched her from the hallway. She didn't see me. Alexa greeted her like nothing was wrong. Good morning, Claire. Today is Saturday. You have no events scheduled. No events. No friends. No recovery PR plan. No group chat rescuing her with men or trash, and he overreacted. Because they'd heard her voice. Raw. Detached. Cruel. Even. It's one thing to say, I made a mistake. It's another to hear yourself say, I just need to keep the lie going a little longer. That's not a mistake. That's policy. She didn't say much to me that morning. Offered a half-hearted morning with a tone that implied she still held a sliver of hope. That maybe, just maybe, I'd come around. That men who get quiet are men who might change their minds. I wasn't quiet because I was thinking. I was quiet because I was done. I packed in silence. Not rushed. Not theatrical. Just deliberate. Like I was clocking out from a job that had gone on too long. I folded shirts I no longer cared about. Took down the framed photo from our trip to Montreal. Slipped it out of the frame. Left the frame behind. She watched me from the living room. Didn't ask where I was going. She knew. By noon, I had everything in the Tesla. The irony wasn't lost on me that the same car that betrayed her alibi would now escort me to freedom. She stood on the porch. Not crying. Not begging. Just suspended. Like someone watching a house they built start to collapse in slow motion, unsure if they should grab a hose or just light a cigarette and enjoy the show. You really won't talk to me? She asked. I've talked enough, I said. The house finished the conversation. That wasn't fair. Neither was Thursday. She flinched. I got in the car, closed the door, and drove off. The lease uptown was clean. Minimalist. Temporary. It smelled like new paint and disinfectant, which felt appropriate. Like I just scrubbed off years of invisible rot. That first night alone, I didn't cry. Didn't rage. Didn't go numb. I just sat there, in the dark, watching the footage again. Not because I needed proof, but because I needed to understand the performance. To study the expressions. To read the body language of a woman who could smile at you one moment and disappear behind your back the next. She looked so familiar in the footage. So natural in her betrayal. And I realized, with eerie calm, that the woman I married had likely never existed. She was a construct. A beautiful, efficient algorithm of charm, ambition, and plausible deniability. Like Alexa. Only dumber. 3 days passed. Then the text started. Not from Claire. From Michael. The man had the gall to message me. Can we talk? Just man to man. I think we should clear the air. Clear the air. Like this was a misunderstanding. Like I'd caught him parking too close to my bumper, not parking himself in my marriage. I didn't respond. So he tried again. I didn't know it would get this bad. I didn't think Emily would leave. That made me laugh. He thought I burned his house down? Buddy, I just handed your wife a flashlight. She found the matches herself. Then came the kicker. You really torched Claire. People are saying you planned this for weeks. People were right. He added one more message. You win. That one, I screenshotted. Then deleted. Because winning wasn't the point. Exiting was. Claire tried her version of a comeback. Day 5, I got an email. Not a text. She knew better than to trigger read receipts. Subject line, closure. That's how you know someone's still lying. They use therapy words in legal font. I opened it. She said she understood. Said she hoped I was healing. Said she'd learned a lot and wanted to someday sit down with honesty and no defenses. She ended with, I never stopped loving you. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. But because silence was the reply. I let a week pass. Then I sent the one message I had been writing. To Emily Garson. Thanks for watching the show. I'm sorry for how you had to find out. I hope the second act is better for both of us. She replied within an hour. Thank you. You didn't just blow it up. You made sure it burned clean. That one, I kept. I printed it. Slid it inside the Montreal photo I pulled from the frame. Tucked it into a drawer. Not as a trophy. As a reminder of what happens when you ignore your own software. By the end of the month, Claire had moved out. The house went quiet. Alexa reset. New owners came in, changed the routines, painted the walls. I left the system intact, logs deleted, devices factory reset. A clean slate. But every once in a while, I imagine the new owner saying, "Alexa, play romantic playlist." And I wonder if she remembers. Because I do. Not with regret. Not with pain. Just with precision. The new apartment didn't have smart anything. No Alexa. No Ring cameras. No thermostat that sent me friendly reminders about my preferred evening climate. Just switches, knobs, and a very analog kettle that took actual minutes to boil. It was blissfully dumb. For the first few days, it felt like stepping out of a war zone. Not because there were bombs dropping, just because the silence wasn't surveilled. I could walk into a room and not wonder what was recorded. I could turn off lights without leaving a data trail. My toothbrush didn't send performance stats to a cloud server. I didn't have to decode anyone's bedtime routine. I was free. Not of her. That was already done. I was free of needing to understand why she did it. Because that's the trap, isn't it? The autopsy. The hours spent replaying conversations like they were evidence in a trial, trying to spot the moment where the infection started. But the truth is, most betrayals don't have a single moment. They grow slowly, like mold behind drywall. You don't see it until something collapses. I started running again. Not out of inspiration. Out of time. Time to think. Time to not talk. Time to process the fact that someone I once trusted with my deepest fears was using Thursday nights to make me obsolete in my own home. Running helped. So did journaling, even if half of what I wrote sounded like a manifesto. And therapy? I tried it. Once. Told the therapist the entire story. From sod to smart home locks. She blinked a few times, nodded slowly, then said, "You seem remarkably okay with this." I told her I was never trying to stay married. I was trying to understand the blueprint. She asked what I meant. I said, "Everyone who cheats follows patterns. You just have to learn their version of Morse code." She didn't book a follow-up. By week 3, Claire had gone offline. Her socials still existed, but the frequency dropped to 0. No new posts. No stories. No cryptic captions about growth or owning my journey. She'd been wiped from her friend group like a corrupted file. Maya had unfollowed her. Samantha blocked her. Even the yoga mom tagged a different wine night crew. Public forgiveness doesn't come easy when your betrayal had a soundtrack. Michael? He tried to rebrand. Started a fitness channel. Healing through strength. Absent half apologies. His view count tanked by episode 3. The comments roasted him with quotes from my Alexa routine. His subscriber base collapsed under the weight of his own delusion. The story had moved on. And I was supposed to. Then, on the 42nd day post-separation, not that I was counting, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A real envelope, hand-addressed, postmarked from the house I used to own. Inside was a flash drive. No note. No explanation. Just one word written on the outside in red ink. Listen. I sat with it for a full hour before plugging it in. Inside were 8 audio files. Labeled by date. Timestamped. Recordings. Not mine. Not from my system. These were conversations. Phone calls. Bits of voice memos. Claire's voice. Mostly. Sometimes angry. Sometimes quiet. Once, whispering through tears. And then Michael's voice. Familiar. Smug. Unfiltered. In the second file, he said something that stuck. "You think I'm doing this for you? You're just a resume builder. The wife's already halfway out the door. I'm just pushing her." The wife. Not Claire. His wife. Emily. The affair wasn't about love. It wasn't even about intimacy. It was strategy. He'd used Claire to trigger his own exit plan. To sabotage his marriage and rebrand as a victim. To light his own life on fire, walk out of the flames, and say he was reborn. Only it backfired. Because I'd exposed him before he could set the stage. Claire had found that out the hard way. One of the later recordings was a voicemail from her to him. "You promised. You said we were in this together. Now you won't answer?" I gave up everything. Her voice cracked. It wasn't rage. It was realization. He'd ghosted her. Used her as a tool. Dropped her the second the fallout landed. I don't know how she got the recordings. Maybe she'd set up her own surveillance. Maybe Emily gave them to her. Maybe she was trying to prove she was betrayed too, just in a different font. Didn't matter. The message was clear. She wanted me to know she wasn't the mastermind. She was a piece on someone else's board. Too bad. I don't reward pawns who think they were queens. I copied the files, then mailed the flash drive to Emily. No note. Just, "You might want these." Then I deleted the originals. Because I wasn't archiving the pain. I was retiring from the whole damn system. A week later, a package arrived at my apartment. Inside was a photo. Montreal. Me and Claire. Framed, but shattered. The glass was cracked right through our smiles. No sender listed, but I knew the handwriting on the label. Small. Sharp. Controlled. She hadn't forgiven me. Good. I hadn't forgiven her either. I leaned the photo against the bookshelf. Didn't throw it away. Didn't frame it again. Just left it there. Broken. Like a trophy. Or a reminder that the house may have told the story, but I was the one who made it speak. Subscribe to the channel